welcome to Friday Night Movie.
Did you hear that?
Is Mom practicing her buttery voice?
Yes. We just watched Bob Ross get into the mood.
Do you have...
He actually, while he was painting, said, I think the cameraman fell asleep. Here we are, and welcome to another edition of Friday Night Movie Podcast.
Oh my God, Mom, that was amazing.
Mom, that was so good it could have been an ASMR video.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my mother did the intro today because today we have our two all-time most requested, most downloaded guests, Fanny and Roger, our parents, are here for a very special Father's Day episode. Before we hear more from them, Lily, calling in from the Canary Islands. How are you?
Pretty good. I just had a funny experience in the car when I was driving home to be here for this call, for this recording. The Spin Doctors came on the radio.
In Spain?
In the Canary Islands, and it was just such a heartwarming experience in the car because I was trying to tell my son about this. He's 2, he doesn't care, but I was like, oh my God, it's a Spin. I was all alone in the car too, and I just, do you remember? It made me think of, I don't know if other people have that song, but I remember kind of, I guess, being just about a teenager and hearing it at the Oz house, our neighbors.
Do you mean Two Princes?
Yeah, Two Princes.
Okay,
obviously.
all right. Yeah, I remember they had the tape.
No one knows any other Spin Doctors song.
No, Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, Cleopatra's Cat,
Okay.
Hard to Exist.
It stops at Little Miss
Shinbone Alley.
Can't be wrong. But I think everybody knows I mean Two Princes. And so I just remembering
What time is it?
here.
4:30?
It's not late. It's just early.
Early. I'm curious if there are other Spin Doctors fans now that possibly could be listening. Anyways, I just remembered such a fond memory of being over at their house, and they were the cool older kids, and me being oh wow, this is a cool song. And then I knew it from that moment on. At school, probably, I don't know. There's a tape. I remember having the tape for it. And then when it came on the radio, it brought all that nostalgia back. You know, Shai, you and I are nostalgia experts.
I remember I got that tape for my Bogream summer at camp, and I had that tape on my Sony Walkman, the one that had the clock on the front of it, and I listened to it over and over and over again in my top bunk bed of bunk 13. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Becky, have you had any nostalgic experiences? I know nostalgia isn't one of your favorite games.
Oh no, I have actually. Last night I read, so you know that there's a Harry Potter play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, right?
Yes.
So last night I read the play, and I had read the first act maybe a week ago, and then I tore through the rest of the play, and it's a 2-part play. It's really, really long. It's like a 300-page book.
It's a 3-hour, it's an all-day production.
It's an all-day production, right? And I read the whole thing last night. I stayed up till midnight, which is insane considering I have a little baby, and I was just weeping throughout the whole thing, and Vlad is like, what's going on? I'm having this very nostalgic moment remembering reading the Harry Potter books for the first time, and how much I just loved these characters and this story and how incredible it is. And I was really overwhelmed.
How is The Cursed Child? Buy, rent, or meh?
I think it's a buy with a couple of weak plot points, but a buy. A buy with a couple, but plot points I forgive because I'm just so excited to see the characters. It had to be good enough that
you stayed up so late to read it.
Well, it's the way she writes. It's so addictive. You need to know, the story is constantly moving forward. There's not a dull moment. This is a bit
of a callback to our Last Jedi episode. Was it we bought a zoo in Hogwarts?
No, it was not. And I have to tell you where it's better than The Last Jedi is that you're following
And the list grows. The list grows.
You're following Harry's kid, and the only reason you care about this kid is because it's Harry Potter's kid. That is the only reason why it matters and it's important, is because it's about the original core people that you followed from those first stories.
And what you're saying is Ray should have been a Skywalker so that we gave a crap.
Yes, agreed. That's what this whole Harry Potter thing
And
is.
Not a
by
nobody.
the way, I've read that she may very well be a Skywalker, only it's a twist.
Oh, okay. Well, you never know. Maybe she's a Chewbacca. Who knows? Maybe that's what Solo: A Star Wars Story revealed. Well, so next, I'd like to welcome back Mom and Dad, who have hundreds of downloads to their name on our show, having been on the show multiple times and have been on the most popular episodes. And they are here to, number one, celebrate Father's Day with Dad.
Thank you.
Dad is with all three of his kids, but also to talk about a moment that we've been building towards since the beginning of the podcast. In fact, we've often talked about how we created a podcast just so ultimately one day we could talk about our love of Breakin and Breakin to Electric Boogaloo. Would you agree, girls?
100%.
Exactly. So,
Can I make a confession?
yes.
I always thought the name of the
Mom's just laughing.
Oh, it's
She's
already
like-
started. This
she's
is the
already
laugh
starting.
that we describe all the time, by the way.
This is it. She's crying. She's crying. I'm taking pictures.
It's just
I always
sharp
thought
inhales
the
and
name of
she's
the
not
first
breathing.
movie was Electric Boogaloo.
Okay. I just want to say for the record, did you pee before?
I don't need to anymore, Lily. That's your problem now, not mine.
Okay. No need to be rude. I had a baby.
Okay.
So anyway, for a long time, I forgot that the first movie was Breakin' and the second one was Electric Boogaloo, and I always thought that the first movie was Electric Boogaloo. Thankfully,
So
I
did
made a
I.
fool of myself yesterday.
So did I. To me, they're just one movie.
So, well, they might as well. I mean, they were made within minutes of each other.
They're both also the entire together the same length as Thor.
Yeah.
Amazing the lack of continuity, considering the two films were made so close together.
So, yesterday at the All-Star Comicon, which I'll talk about that a little bit, I went with our parents and Allie and the kids, 3 generations, for a photo op meet and greet and dance workshop with the legendary Shabba Doo, also known as Adolfo Quiñones. Sorry, Mom.
Thank God Mama's on this.
The man who played Ozone, who we first discussed, well, probably first discussed early on, but who we famously discussed on this show during our crossover with the Banzai Retro Club. And we declared that we were going to go to this. And we did. And we have video footage and we have pictures. And now we have the story. I'm going to set the scene. I'm going to talk about a few intro moments. And then I'm going to turn it over to Lily and Becky to just fire away with questions. And then we'll go into other parts of the story. Okay, so number 1. We arrive at All-Star Comicon, which is put on by these guys, Kevin Bednards and Tom McKeon. They're local guys and a couple other folks. And they had billed it many times as a sort of smaller, more intimate, almost like the Comic-Con of the people. And they took over the Sheraton Hotel in Tyson's Corner. And it was fantastic. They did an amazing job. The cosplay game, like the people dressed up, was probably the highest percentage, like per capita. When I got there a few minutes after Mom and Dad, and they told me and Allie, they said it was worth it just to come and see all the people dressed up. It was pretty incredible. The vibe was great. The people were so nice. So we arrive at this hotel, and this wasn't like it was off in some conference room. The entire hotel was taken over by people dressed up like Deadpool and the Khaleesi and...
Except for the poor wedding party. There was somebody getting married in the hotel. Yes. And the bride and the groom and the bridal party and the mother of the bride. It was poor people surrounded by all these.
That is a hilarious punchline.
So there were a few people in formal wear, and then everybody else, and they weren't.
I actually thought that they might be in costume,
pretending
to be in a wedding.
And then we realized it was a wedding. I was like, oh my God, these poor people.
It could have been a Wedding Crashers thing. So we go to the area where you line up for the photo ops, And the guy who takes our ticket looks remarkably like Michael J. Fox. Like, remarkably like Michael J. Fox.
Like early Michael J. Fox or today?
Like when he was in like Marty McFly. I mean, identical.
Like 1980s.
I thought it was his kid, because it is identical to him.
And so, he's a very nice guy. He took our tickets. He got us all set up in line. And then someone comes up to him and says, "You know, you look like Michael J. Fox." And he said, "Yeah, I do this professionally. I'm a Michael J. Fox impersonator." And later, we actually saw him dressed up in the puffy orange jacket. So imagine the scene. So we are getting our tickets taken.
God, wait. Do you have a photo of him?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get
lots of pictures.
Mom took lots of pictures on
Can
the
you
slide.
please text me a picture of this right now?
Wait, text. I want to see it too.
It's
Text
in
me
my
too.
big
It's in Mom's
I'm
big camera. Don't get me started
fascinated.
on the big camera and the light and Mom playing with the big camera.
I can't.
So
Did nobody actually take this photo with a cell phone?
Maybe. I have to
no,
look.
because it's kind of rude to take a picture of someone whose job is professionally to like get pictures taken of themselves looking like someone.
Except he wasn't dressed up like that. He was just standing taking tickets for Shabba Doo.
Shabba Doo.
Scooby Doo.
So we
You're so disrespectful.
so we are there with Michael J. Fox lookalike, very nice man, taking our tickets, and Shabba Doo walks up. The other folks in line were very cool. One guy was dressed as the Green Hornet. He was really nice. He was, goofing around with the kids, pretending to zap them and stuff. And Shabba Doo walks over, and he sees me. Now, I'm wearing my Team Hot Stuff t-shirt that I designed. Shout out to Team Hot Stuff. And I'm wearing my white headband, which I've worn many times. It wasn't like the only time I ever wore my headband. I wanted to get into that 80s vibe. But he looks at me, and the first words out of his mouth were, "What's up, Jamie Kennedy?"
That is just so funny.
Because he thought I looked like Jamie Kennedy. I thought that was very astute. And then,
That's a pretty good comparison.
well, and then he kept joking about it throughout the interactions. And he
Well,
kept
I mean, if Marty McFly is there, I bet he thought you were impersonating him from like Scream or whatever.
well, actually, he kept saying, so Shabba Doo kept saying, kicking it old school. And I couldn't tell if we were doing a bit because he thought I was just cool with the headband. And then later in the day, Allie and I are driving. I said, "Allie, could you please IMDb if there's a movie called Kicking It Old School?" And sure enough, there's a movie called Kicking It Old School starring
With
Jamie Kennedy that
Amazing.
Shabba Doo choreographed, I think, or something like that. So, or he was involved in.
So now you have to watch the movie.
I'm definitely going to watch that movie. So then the next thing he says is he looks over at Mom and he goes, "You're fine."
Which is like a lot to handle.
It was amazing.
Wait a second, and he's only like 2 years younger than me. He's my age. So that was very, very, ooh, does he mean it? Or does he get it?
Of course he means it. You are fine. But also, he doesn't look his age, right? He looks pretty good.
Oh,
I don't
he looks
think
amazing.
he barely looks 50, and the guy's 63 years old. It's incredible.
Yeah. So then we did the photo op. In the photo op, he was very sweet. He was very funny. We did pictures one-on-one with him. He did one with the kids. He did one with the family. I showed him my animation. He really liked that. He thought that was cool. He had me show it to other folks that worked there, so that was cool. And then after that, we all of us took turns chatting with him. I'll let that come out when you ask your questions, and then we went to the dance workshop. So, what are your questions, Lily and Becky, as of now?
Of the percentage of people, let's say at the dance workshop there was, I don't know, 40 people?
Yeah, 50.
50. Okay, of the 50 people, what percentage, I need you to break this down for me, what percentage were there to actually learn breakdancing? What percentage were there, like you guys, just like old school fans? And what percentage were there were like more fans than even you guys that were like,
No. And what about
seriously?
people? And was there a percentage of people who turned up and they're like, "What is this? What?
Oops.
Nobody paid the money for the workshop who didn't know who he was. That's clear.
But there's very young kids there, besides your kid.
So yes, there were very young kids there. Their parents clearly liked it. There were a few really sincere, wonderful people that truly, truly loved him. Like when they shook his hand, they said, "I'm just a huge fan." And you could see that they were as big fans of Dad as dads, if not even more. And it was truly sincere and wonderful. And then there were a lot of people like us who just wanted to be in the room with him. And then there were a few kids in there, younger kids, that were absolutely fantastic dancers.
And there were a few people who were younger than you guys, or about your age, who definitely were there to learn the moves. They were asking questions about detailed questions about how he did a particular move. and you could tell that they were like processing it and were there to learn.
When the workshop workshop started, besides the parents who were accompanying kids, everybody who was there, and they ranged all shapes, sizes, and colors, were there to do the workshop. So at the beginning, 100% of the folks who had bought tickets were there to do the workshop. It became a trial of attrition to...
It's Mom breathing very heavily.
It became a trial of attrition to actually survive the workshop. So as it went on, there were folks who just couldn't keep up with it, and they sat down and they watched. But everyone stayed.
And I want it to be known. I want it to be known. Hold on.
To learn the move.
Hold on. I want it to be known that your father,
it's like the dinner table.
Yep.
69 years old, did not stop for a moment. The only people who lasted as long as Dad were the kids who were breakdancing and keeping up with Ozone, and Shabba Doo himself called Dad out multiple times and joked around with him because Dad was by far the oldest person in there, and Dad did not stop. And I will add, our father was amazing.
He's a great dancer.
We ran into some guys in the elevator later who were in the class, and they said, "Wow, you were really good." So Dad he made us proud. It was incredible.
I'm paying for it today, but I was going to finish that workshop no matter what. So it was inspiring.
So I think this is a good point, actually. Dad was particularly moved. I think we were all moved. It was a moving experience. Dad, can you talk a little bit about the inspiration, the inspiration factor?
Because Becky I think I cut Becky off. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Did he do?
No one even answered my question. So.
Yeah,
what was your
they
question
more or less did. They gave us a fair assessment. They don't. They didn't do a poll at the class. Well, my question: Did he do any of the routines from either Breakin or Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah, he at intervals or at the end of the class, he went into I would say high level. Of course, not the highest level. He wasn't performing, but he started to do the things that you saw in the movie. And what was fascinating was to see that the 3 blocks, he taught us 3 blocks of steps, and they were and what he taught us were really kind of like the foundation steps from which he does all kinds of variations. So you could see in these amazing moves that he was doing, and he was doing them the way you get a cup of coffee. They just flow naturally out of his body after so many years.
You think so? He's as good as he was then, is what you're saying?
He is
a little bit older.
He's certainly older. I mean, you didn't see him, as I say, in full performance mode, but totally amazing, just totally amazing.
And so he taught us 3 or 4 major moves. One of them was called the lock. One of them was called the kickball chain. One of them was the wrist roll. Where they roll their arms up and roll them back.
Yes, that looks really hard.
I have to say,
really
they make it look effortless in the movie, and in some ways, when you look back at that movie from the '80s, you kind of look and say,
"Oh." I tell you, does not look effortless in the movie. There's a whole montage and how difficult it is to learn it.
In particular, that move.
Like she's a professional dancer, and Kelly can't learn it. I was under no impression that any of this was easy.
So it is all really hard, both from a mental standpoint, but from a physical standpoint. I mean, all of us need ice. I mean, it was so impressive just to learn the lock and the lock shake. Like when we watch the movie now, I think we have a sense of the different there are different moves, like the little kick that he does, or when you see him doing his robot walk and he stops and he kind of locks and then moves his arms. All of the deliberate movements that go along with that, he was teaching us and we all did the best that we possibly could, but the control, it was amazing.
The question everybody's waiting for: what did he say about the movie?
Okay, so he did it. So he didn't talk a ton about the movies, and we didn't want to bug him much about the movies, although we thanked him and we talked about them in different ways. But probably one of the best moments was he sits us down at the end, the last 5 minutes after the whole course, and he starts giving us this beautiful inspirational speech, which I'll let Dad talk about the message of the speech. And then in the middle of the speech, he starts quoting the scene from The Beach where he gives that emotional speech to Kelly.
Seriously? He was like giving her shit.
And I'll tell you why he said it. He said it because he said that a lot of the movie he improvised that wasn't in the script, and that was his example of a scene that he had improvised, that it just came from his heart. And it turned out to be good.
And so he did that. What does he say then? He goes, "You don't know how I feel, Kelly," or something like that. He said those.
He gives her shit.
Yeah. But he said the exact lines, and he said Kelly, and everybody cheered. It was great. Like he threw us one little fan.
That's awesome.
Did he give an update on Turbo Boogaloo Shrimp?
That's what I asked Shai before. I called him on the phone. I was like, "Did he give an update?"
We did not ask him about Boogaloo Shrimp, or maybe Dad did.
Here's my other question: did he make any reference? Did anybody else make reference? Was anybody dressed in a crop top?
There was one lady dressed up as one of the women from the final scene in Electric Boogaloo.
I saw that in your picture, like the red and black in one of their final performance outfits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
that was amazing.
But like the fact that he mostly wore crop tops in the movie, there was no reference made to that.
Or bandanas around your waist, or giant rabbit tails on your belt loop. Is that what it was?
Or like a beret mixed with a bunch of chains.
So
Nobody?
When I shook his hand for the picture, we were asked not to spend a lot of time. And I said to him, as I shook his hand, I said, to me, Breakin was a revolutionary moment in movie making the way Star Wars was. And he looked at me very seriously and he said, "I agree." And I think at that moment I felt as if I had connected with him in a way that indicated how he feels about breakdancing as a whole, and he made references to that as he spoke when he talked about the origin of breakdancing appearing for the first time publicly in Soul Train, which is by itself a iconic cultural moment that you guys can explore perhaps in another podcast. So it first appeared in media in 1971. That's 13 years before the movie was made in 1984. So he clearly feels this dance form not just as a performance medium, but as you guys can also talk to it in terms of how it relates to culture and history and something which is truly unique in performance art.
Yeah. And I would say when Dad mentioned us not spending a lot of time talking, that was me who just said that I know that during photo ops, because there's a lot of people who lined up and who've paid money, you're not supposed to monopolize the guy's time. He was, of course, very cool and was not rushing anyone, nor were the people at All-Star Comicon. They were very cool about it. So do you want to talk at all about the inspirational speech, Dad?
Yeah. It's after the whole workshop, he was then signing photos, and I actually thought that I want him to appear in a workshop in some professional setting that I'm thinking of for my company, and I started to talk to him about his philosophy, and I think what as revolutionary for me as the workshop was, because I was thinking, this is kind of a lightweight for different people who are not very serious about dancing, but in fact this was a workshop for dancers, and he treated us as if we were students, real dance students, but yet the words that he spoke before, during, and after really struck me, and I think, and I related to Mom in one very important sense, because he first started talking about how every person has their groove, and there's no such thing as good or bad in dance, or true or not true. It's that fingerprint that just as everyone has their own fingerprint, everyone has their own form, and so much of what he talked about was letting letting yourself be true to who you are and letting that come out on the dance floor. And I thought back to a mom who is the most natural dancer in the world. She doesn't dance by steps.
Well, that's why I can't learn a choreography.
Yeah, let's be clear.
It was very difficult for me yesterday.
Mom could not learn a single step of the choreography.
I learned it. I just couldn't keep up.
Mom dances her own beat.
I was able to learn one step consistently. Dad got all of them. Allie got a lot of them, if you could expect. The kids were enamored for the first 5 minutes, and then they just were like, "Why is this so long?" They were like,
They went to play under.
They went to go play under a chair in the corner, and they had fun.
But coming back to his philosophy, so there were several points that he made that, if you put them all together, could be a TED talk on origin of who you are and what you should be. He really struck me in terms of expressing your own personal self, and I could relate it to the dance floor, where I couldn't keep up. I was enamored with MC Hammer. I was telling Shai before, when he came on the scene with "Can't Touch This," and I remember, I guess it was was that in the 90s or the 80s?
90s.
That was the 90s. So I remember
Very early 90s?
yeah.
Early 90s.
So I remember trying to imitate those steps, and I couldn't, of course. But then I think I remember just saying, just be yourself on the dance floor.
So can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you pronounce his name again?
Alfredo Quiñones.
Adolfo.
Adolfo Quiñones. Alfredo, Alberto, Adolfo. It's a name.
Between you, you'll get it right eventually.
Adolfo Quiñones. Anyway, he, when you go to these things, you go to a Comicon, and we don't go as often as Shai does because he seems to love these things. It was actually a lot of fun, but when I went, and I'm thinking, okay, so he was in Breakin in 1980s. What do these washed up old stars do? And coincidentally, Roger and I had watched this new Burt Reynolds movie last night about an actor who was it's called The Last Movie Star, about this actor who was once very, very famous. No, he wasn't. But listen, here's the connection. The film was actually quite good, and it was about this star who is no longer a star. He's in his 80s, and at one time he was award-winning. He was in the Inner Circle, et cetera, and he gets an award at a film festival, and he doesn't want to go, and he ends up going, and it's a rinky-dink, nothing film festival in Tennessee.
I thought that was a cool movie.
And he gets really upset because it makes him feel very washed out and like washed up and done, and that's what the movie's about. But then when I went it reminded me that going yesterday to this thing, I'm thinking, okay, so this guy, he's going to do a workshop, he's going to take a picture. It'll be fun. It's exciting. I love the movies. Watching it with you guys, I don't know how many 100 times did we watch it. I have no recollection how many times we watched it together. What I was impressed with is that he reinvented himself. He did not rely on. He didn't call himself Ozone. He didn't make real references to it.
Disappointed. I feel like not that I want him to be washed up. Like, I'm happy that he has like a whole other career. Well, I'm just like, give the people what they want.
He didn't ignore it, because at the place where you go to get the thing signed, they had the movie playing, and it wasn't that he ignored it and he made references to Kelly or whatever, but he actually has reinvented himself, and he does workshops all over the world, and he has this whole philosophy that he talks about. And for me, I respected him very much for that, and I was impressed by that, because it's not that easy to reinvent yourself. So it was very cool. It was very cool.
So you have an autographed picture of our whole family coming to you guys. Well, I want to share. And you can fight over the original. So let's talk. Mom and Dad talked about The Last Movie Star. Let's talk about what we're watching. So they watched that movie. You guys watching anything you want to talk about?
Embarrassed to say what I'm watching.
No.
I
Riverdale.
I have stooped today. I have stooped below Riverdale.
One Tree Hill? What?
Heart of Dixie?
No, I love Heart of Dixie. Don't mess with Heart of Dixie.
Sorry.
One Tree Hill
Rachel
is
Bilson's
accurate,
a
but
national treasure.
No. It's just like a more of a philosophical stooping. I somehow stumbled upon. I don't know if you guys are in this. Like sometimes I don't have something that I need to watch, then not really pay attention in a quick moment, and I'm on Netflix and I'm like going through, like for me to turn on the VPN and then it takes me a long time sometimes to get a show on the road. So
yeah, it's also taking you a long time to tell us what you're watching. So I like quickly put on Netflix and stumble upon the like story of Diana, the princess Diana, and I am riveted, people, by this documentary.
It's a documentary. Okay,
wait,
fair enough.
Why is that stooping low? That seems like it would be really interesting.
Because I think we've said it before. Documentaries are the books of movies.
Yeah, but
someone else said that. I didn't make that up.
But,
I thought you made that up.
I didn't.
No, not because it's a documentary. I love documentaries. I just mean because it's like, a bit. It's about the royal family, and
wasn't she like a really interesting person with lots of humanitarian initiatives?
And I guess it's just so, I feel like it's so trite to like be watching something about her because she's so iconic and like people talk about her all the time. And I don't know, I was like, really, Diana? But I know nothing about her, and it's fascinating. It's on Netflix. I'm watching it in chunks. I'm not sitting down watching the whole thing through every once in a while, but it's made in part like with her brother. So I feel like that gives it some legitimacy. It's not like some tabloid.
Or less legitimacy because the family controls it.
No, but I actually heard about the documentary in a couple of reviews.
I had read about it. He said for the first time. Yeah.
When you said stooped, I thought you watched a TV movie about Diana, and I was like,
I thought you were talking about like the
Candace Cameron Bure as Diana.
When did she die? In 1988?
No, 97.
No, 97. The day before my bat mitzvah.
Yeah, 97.
97, right before my bat mitzvah.
It's interesting because I was working in the UK in the following year.
No, that year.
Yeah, that year.
97, 98 is when,
Yeah, late 97. It was late 97 then. And, of course, I was reading the British tabloids, Daily Mail and, I forget the other one. And it amazed me how every issue had 5 articles about Diana. So I think she's never lost, I don't think she's ever lost presence in people's minds since her death.
Well,
when you said you stooped, I figured it was the Meghan and Harry movie.
Right. Right, exactly.
Is there a Meghan and Harry movie?
Is.
Are they
got married?
Yeah. Are they starring in it? Like how?
No, it's like they found the Michael J. Fox lookalikes of Meghan and Harry, and they made like a Hallmark Lifetime movie about this. I almost watched that, but I stopped myself. The point is that I guess I thought in my mind when I just was looking through and I see Diana, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this, and I think I thought I was maybe watching something like one of those remake fake movies, and I was like, oh, this is a bit like salacious. And then I realized it was a real legitimate documentary, and her brother's in it, and it's the first time he's spoken since she died, and he felt that since 20 years had passed, he could then talk about her as a child and their childhood together and everything. And I'm watching it and I find it fascinating. I had no idea she got married when she was 19 years old.
She was a baby.
She was a baby. I had no idea about so much of this story. So I actually recommend that if you're interested in not just the royal family,
but how old she was when she married Charles.
He was 30, and he was 32.
And she was 19.
Yeah. And it was fascinating. Anyways, and then I'll just move on. Never mind. I won't keep going on.
Becky, what are you watching?
Oh, wait, I had an answer and then I forgot because Lily talked for 20 minutes.
Wait, but to be clear, she talked for 20 minutes about how she was ashamed to be talking what she was talking about. Then she started dropping the actual knowledge for another 10 minutes. So
yeah, so there goes
anything less.
No, nothing less.
Oh, what do you mean? What am I watching? The only thing there is to be watching as of June 15th, the new season of Queer Eye. Stop what you're doing. Go home from work, take the day off and just watch the new season of Queer Eye.
I've already watched 3 episodes and
I've never watched any of it.
I was the tears were flowing. The tears were
emotional.
flowing.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, it is such a great show.
So inspiring, and I promised myself I'd watch like one a day and space it out.
Wait a minute. Whose turn was it to talk about what they're watching? It's like youngest child over here.
Lily, I will say, you really Diana'd us out there. Yeah, I need to hear Becky talk about Queer Eye now.
So going into season 2, this is something that's come up in the last 2 episodes of this podcast, is season 2 of a series. There's so much buildup in season 1. They throw everything into season 1. You're worried going into season 2. Is it going to fulfill? Is it going to feel stale? Are they going to have good ideas? And I have to tell you, it's delivering. I was really nervous.
Of the show?
The premise of the show is 5 gay men, each with a different specialty. Culture, food and wine, grooming, style, like fashion, and like interior design.
Oh, hair.
Grooming is like hair, grooming, all that, right?
Skin
products, makeup. They're matched up with a person who has been nominated by someone in their life who needs support, kind of turning their life around from all of these perspectives and basically finding their best selves. And these guys go in and spend a week with the person and their friends and their family. And over the course of the week, help them shine and be their best selves. So it's not a makeover show in the sense that they take someone and they say, we're just going to give you a new haircut and all these new clothes and then you'll be a different person. They really kind of take the time to get to know the subject, who they are, where they want to be going in their life, and through all these different means, like they say, make their outsides shine and be beautiful, and then hopefully by that, that will be a motivation for their inside to shine.
I'm just going to pipe in one sec. Something I really like about the show is that they make fun of the person and laugh along with them a bit, which is great, because like some of the stuff these people have in their wardrobe or their house or the way they're living is they're like, no guys, you can't keep living like this, which is funny. But they also never body shame or put the person down. It's all about elevating, which is very inspirational. It's awesome.
So that's the premise. Is it only men that they work with?
No, they have a woman this season.
They work with men, women, gay, straight, old, young, it doesn't matter. It's just, whoever is nominated, that would be a good subject. And season 2 so far has been fantastic. It's just as good as season 1, if not better, because the Fab Five have bonded and are even closer at this point. So, and even more comfortable on camera and all that anyway. So that's what I've been watching.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love seeing how, I don't have the patience for a reality show, but I have seen a number of episodes of the show, and it is terrific. And it made me so happy when that second season came out. I couldn't believe how quickly it came out. I guess maybe it didn't come out so quickly. Either way,
a few months.
The amazing positive reaction that I've seen makes me really happy. So what I've been watching also comes with one of the big moments that happens on our show, which it comes with an I Told You show. So I will be calling our sister Lily a genius.
Finally.
A genius for introducing me to Killing Eve. Absolutely
amazing.
Love it.
I second that motion.
I loved it. I loved it from the first.
Just call me a genius.
I loved it from the first episode. Sandra Oh has now erased all of Grey's Anatomy for me, even though they do have her crying over dead bodies in a hospital in the first episode, and that gave me flashbacks. I love the acting. I love the story. I love the different characters. I love the tension. I love the way they use music, even though I don't only love the actual music. I love the way they use music. I think that Villanelle, the villain, she plays a psychopath perfectly. I caught on right away that this wasn't some person, or at least I don't know yet because I'm only about halfway through the season, but this wasn't some person that was just trained as a killer. This is clearly a psychopath that they enlisted to be their assassin. And just a terrific show, and I'm not all the way through the season, but Lily, you are in fact a genius. This is the first show in a while, 45-minute show, so like a drama, where the moment the episode's over, I want to start the next one.
So I have seen it through. Mm-hmm. We almost completed it when
we watched it. Yeah, we watched it in. There's 8 episodes. We watched it in 5 days.
Right.
Almost.
So at 2 o'clock in the morning. So when you all finish, on another podcast, I would like the three of you to review what you think of it after you finish the season. So put that down on a future agenda.
Absolutely.
Sorry, you said you had a question?
Oh, so I have a question. Just so there's something, and I don't know if Becky, you've seen the whole season yet, or Lily. So try not to do spoilers when you answer this. But there are some questions I have about Villanelle, the assassins, like, you know, that episode of Always Sunny. What are the rules?
Right.
Her decisions of who she...
That comes up in my life a lot, though, by the way. What are the rules?
So she ruthlessly kills tons of people with no remorse. She even makes you feel like she's going to have remorse, but she's obviously lying, and you know she's lying. Mm-hmm. But then there are certain characters that she won't kill and almost protects, and I can't figure out the system, and maybe that's part of the show, but... You know, she hasn't hurt Eve.
I feel like that's explained by the end who she protects.
Okay.
Beck, you watched it through?
Yeah, that's explained in like the last 2 episodes.
Oh, I didn't know you finished it, Beck.
Okay.
I did. But if we talk about it, we'll ruin it.
Okay. All right. So Beck, did you end up turning around on it a bit, or did you have issues with the show?
No, I really, really loved it, and I'm definitely going to watch a season 2. I just feel like it wasn't. Listen, sure, I'll give you the I told you so. I just don't think it's a perfect show. I think that But I don't think an I told you show are perfect shows. I think they make some mistakes in the storytelling, and they lean on certain devices. And it just, like, some weird choices that, I don't know.
Are you talking about the way they film it or on the storyline, the weird choices?
No, just, like, the storyline-wise. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the things is that they keep a certain sense of mystery and confusion, which doesn't happen that often anymore with TV shows, where everything is they tell you what they're going to tell you. And this one, they leave a lot to interpretation and kind of vague, and you don't even know where it's going. It reminds me a little bit of Broadchurch, where you're watching it and it is a true mystery because you really can't figure out who did it. Mm-hmm. And here, it's not about who done it. It's her. She's a killer.
Right. No, I did really like it in the end. I did really like it in the end. Was I gonna?
But one thing I do agree with you, it's a bit far-fetched. Some of the stuff is a little bit far-fetched.
No, it's not even far-fetched that that got me.
Let's try see it to the end.
Okay, I'll see it through. All right, let's go to...
Yeah, when you're done seeing it, we can talk.
Let's go to shout-outs. Lily, you got any shout-outs?
I would like to shout out to Angie's Boom Chicka Pop. Okay? Because I just finished my last bag. It was brought to me from the United States from my dear parents, so I should thank them first. Shout out to you guys. And you cannot get anything like that here. This is like really something super special. It would be one of the main reasons I'd move back to the United States, besides my family. It's so good, and Angie makes it, and I just like, Angie, wherever you are, you're a genius, because this popcorn's incredible. And if people out there haven't tried it, go out and buy it.
All right, back.
So that's my shout out.
Yeah, I have a shout out to, I brought this up maybe like a couple months ago, this short animated film called Weekends that my friend Trevor Jimenez made, and a bunch of our other friends worked on, and my husband worked on, and it recently screened at the Annecy Film Festival, which is the most important animation film festival in the world. It happens in Annecy, France, every year, and he just won the audience award and the jury prize for his short film.
That's amazing.
Exciting.
Huge things to win both the jury prize and the audience award, and really excited for him. So shout out to Trev, and then also a shout out to someone I brought up before, to Edgy, because he is as diehard of a Breakin fan as this family is. He was a breakdancer pretty much through his whole life, through his 20s, and when he found out you guys got to meet Ozone and dance with him, the jealousy was just like, you could see it radiating.
It's so cool you're going to share the joy of the Ozone meeting with an actual person.
And neither one of our partners quite understand our deep obsession with these movies.
Wait, I think I thought Jose was in his own breakdance crew.
He was.
Los Lockers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know what they were called, but he was called El Rapid. I'm not even kidding. His best friends from home will call him El Rapid.
So
how do you just leave that for minute 50 of the podcast?
So did he ever see Breakin?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mom, you have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
We talk about that.
Oh, believe me, it has been established already this weekend that Mom and Dad don't listen, which is probably a good thing.
I listen to it in spurts and segments.
I will when I retire.
Oh, that's right. Dad is committed to. But to be fair to them, their whole life is the podcast. They have to listen to us doing this all the time. It's not much different in our house. Okay, so I have some shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to our dear buddy Gato. I haven't said hi to him in a little while, but Gato's one of our awesome listeners and buddies in the Twitterverse, and almost every time he tweets that he's watching a particular movie...
It's like he's in our mind.
Right, exactly.
Unbelievable.
And I feel like somewhere right now Gato's watching some awesome action movie or 80s movie that
he's like our Twitter spirit animal.
Exactly. And I'd like to give a shout out to our dear friend Pam and the Herspiration Happy Hour. They have a Father's Day all-male takeover episode, or I don't know, all-male because the women who run the podcast are on it, but they have a bunch of male guests this week on their podcast from the special Father's Day episode that they have airing, so people should check that out. I want to give a shout out to Deborah K. Baker Jr. and her brother, in particular her brother William, who is recovering from cancer, fighting cancer. She is the amazing, hilarious actress who plays Denise on Stand Against Evil, and I, along with some of the Stand Against Evil fans, have been sending them some good vibes through social media. I made them an animation earlier today, and just sending lots of loves to those folks. Deborah has been always very gracious about me sending out my fan art, and I was very happy to be able to participate in the little bit that I could in sending good wishes to her brother. I'd also like to give a shout out again, just going back to the well again, to Mike Roberts and Andy Sipes, the creators of Dallas and Robo, or to Mike Roberts and Andy Sipes, who work on Dallas and Robo. Mike, I believe, is the creator. He has been jamming with us on Twitter, and that show is just hilarious. I've been watching it nonstop. Highly, highly recommend people, if you have YouTube Red,
yes,
check it out. And finally, to one of the all-time great Yentas. If you watch the Goldbergs, the Frentas are real, and our mother has her own version of them. And I talked to Annuta today, who...
Oh, fun!
Nice!
Whoa, what was that? You just yelled into the... got a weird sound there. Anyways, to Annuta today, and she sent lots of love to us, and hopes, and I think she listens to the podcast a little bit. She really enjoyed the story of Mom and Dad and the hippos. So that's what I've got there. And Mom, where can people follow you on? Do you want people to follow you on Twitter?
There's not much to follow. It's okay.
Mom's Inner Wonder on Instagram and Twitter. Dad, you don't want anyone to follow you, right?
Well, I only have a professional profile, but I like to give a shout out. Like to give a shout out. This has been an amazing month for me personally, because within 1 month I got to see all three of our children
within 2 weeks, like 2.5 weeks, not even a month.
That's right.
It's amazing.
And I'd like to shout out to our three kids, and Mom and I have said this many times. Our mantra as you were growing up was follow your heart. And indeed, the three of you have. It's taken you professionally to very, very different places, but places where you've fulfilled yourselves, to quote Ozone, be who you are. And the second thing that you've done is you've taken us to amazing places. So our trip to the Canary Islands, to Santa Cruz de Tenerife, was again an amazing place. All of the pastry shops on your street were amazing. To Becky, thank you for taking us to the East Bay of San Francisco, and of course to Pixar many times, and to the amazing friends that you're making. And to our first child, Shai, thank you for taking us to a Comicon and to meet Shabba Doo. It's one of those moments in my life when I say, really? And then I say, yeah, just trust your son. And you totally amazed us yet again with an incredible life-changing experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you. And to be clear, Becky, just so you know, in the month of June Dad sweepstakes, I have now crushed it, because in addition to Shabba Doo, we also got Dad a properly made Black Forest cake from the German bakery.
I saw that.
Dad, which did you enjoy more?
That's really putting me on the spot. So,
Which?
I think the
one
answer is
that
known
you're
right there.
So no, hold it.
Child slave.
So you cannot compare something that was made with loving hands.
You know what that means.
However,
And Becky,
Get the
no,
blue ribbon here.
and Becky, you win it on size, and size is very, very, very important when you're eating black.
your shy
Moses
looks like
cake.
he got you like a little mini one.
Well, let's to be
like a
clear,
cupcake.
who was in charge of ordering the cake? Was it me?
It was Allie for sure.
It was Allie.
So
It looks like it was one piece.
Allie was like,
It
guys,
came with
can
a
we
free
order?
salad.
She asked them to give them the normal one, and then she was like, just make it half the size, much smaller,
and then
for sure.
Well, thank you to both my children. All three of my
Allie
children
did
for
order the cake. She
doing
insisted.
all I can say is I'll be coming back next year
Ooh, those are fighting
with an even
words.
better cake. I'm ramping this up.
Oh, Mom has a shot. Everyone's got a shot. I didn't.
Well, I mean, you know, I am here. I am, even though Papa's here, I'm not invisible. I want to give a shout out to all the daddies. Roger, who's the super dad and the great role model in the family. To Shy, Jose, and Vlad, who are amazing fathers. You wow me every time I see you with your children. And, of course, to my brothers and all the people that I love that are daddies and grandfathers and aunts and uncles. And it's a privilege to be part of that circle.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Becky, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at PaperBKPrincess. I highly recommend you follow because if you are following, you would have seen the amazing video I posted for last week's episode of the behind-the-scenes laughter during Shy's intro. So you should be following. And I'd say check out some recipes on everydayoat.com, but I haven't really posted anything new in a while. But check it out anyway.
You could put your Black Forest cake on it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Or you could not.
Lily, can people follow you?
At Chichi K Gomez.
That's it.
On
That's all you have to
Twitter.
say. Just say
On Twitter.
at GK Gomez.
No,
you don't
people
need
don't
to-
know where it is, what platform. On
No,
Twitter.
instead of at thetwinner.com, which is...
I'm not saying any other words. There are no other words. But I will say that we forgot Cousin Vanessa. So just love her. Love to Cousin Vanessa.
Oh, I'm seeing Cousin Vanessa later today.
there
There you go. You're so lucky. She's the best.
Say hi. Mm-hmm. And you can follow me at Pancake.
I was going to be like, all right, well, we're done.
No, you can follow
By
me.
the way,
All
how
done
are
now.
you, Shy?
Mom got it. There you go. You can follow me at Pancake4Table on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow all of the pancake shenanigans at pancake4table.com. If you just like the podcast, go to FridayNightMoviePod.com. Follow various links there. Recommend us to your friends. Review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. That is a really easy way to help us get noticed by other people so we can continue to share our wacky stories with people. And if you would like to hear my voice and actually hear me talk about MC Hammer, who came up today, Ashley and I, Ashley also known as at Comedy Girl on comedy_girl on Twitter or Improvinator on Instagram. She and I have started a podcast called Behind the Music, also available on iTunes and Podbean and other places. And our second episode is all about MC Hammer, and we go deep on that one, on his career. And I think that's what I've got. The theme music by What Does It Eat will kick in now, and we'll all dance. Dad's gonna pop and lock, and Mom's gonna show us her wrist roll. And I'm doing the kickball chain right now in my chair. Lily and Becky, are you guys dancing?
Yeah, I'm popping and locking.
All right.
Obviously.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Love you guys. Have fun with Mom and Dad.
So, Becky, I'm in Shy's basement. I want you to imagine what I'm wearing.
Hold
What?
I'm in Shy's basement. I want you to imagine what I'm wearing.
A parka. You're wearing a parka. You're wearing a ski coat.
Look how Mom's dressed. It's so cold down here.
I've got my
Are you wearing
sweatshirt,
your
a
old fur
scarf.
coat? Did you bring out the beaver?
I should have. I have an Afghan on me that somebody knitted. It's ugly, but
No,
Santa?
it's Allie's grandmother. What's wrong with you?
I can't join the call on my
Lily,
computer.
you have to hang up and rejoin the call.
Bye.
This is behind the scenes footage. Mom's very cold. Becky, I'm going to send you a picture of this
I'm going
now.
to catch pneumonia.
There's that. Okay.
Hi. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I thought this was Laxwee's call, so I didn't join it.
No, I have.
Mom, I'm the mom of this group.
Can you guys talk
I'm just
lower
gonna-
because
Your ears are sensitive?
yeah. No.
Well, your earphones are might be very loud.
Okay,
but we all.
I'll kind of like leave them on the edge of my ears.
So, Lily, I don't know if you were on before, but it's very cold.
I heard
in the
you're very
basement.
cold.
No, but now I'm okay. The Afghan really works.
Well, it's because it's like 4 generations old.
Here,
Is
look.
that brown? I mean, the black and orange one?
It's
No, the black and orange one is.
rainbow colored.
That was
you hear?
ours.
Can you hear Mom and Dad? Okay,
The black and orange was Aunt
I'm
Ethel's.
playing with
This
the
is Allie's
settings.
grandmother's.
Can you hear me?
It's actually
okay,
quite
girls?
heavy and really well done. It's well made.
Girls, can you,
You
hear me?
can't.
Okay?
Is this
Yeah,
better?
Mom, you can't walk it back now.
Yeah,
what you said.
don't backpedal. We know what you really think. I thought you'd be wearing something fun like Dad's old one-piece green ski suit.
If it was here, I would have put
Okay.
it on.